We often talk about, breaking patterns, embracing the unpredictable. We read about it, we nod along. But why does that instinct for order, for tidiness, so often win out? Why does it override chances for, well, innovation, resilience, maybe even a richer life?
It's a real tension, isn't it? We want control, predictability. But the biggest changes, the real breakthroughs, often seem to come from, well, mess, from disorder.
Right. So today we're diving deep into the power, the maybe surprising power, hidden inside mess, disorder, even a bit of chaos.
Exactly. And we're going to explore this through a series of stories. Think of them like puzzle pieces. We'll lay them down one by one, layer by layer. And as we do, you'll start to see how things that look like chaos can actually reveal some really deep truths about how we and the world around us can maybe thrive.
So our mission today is to unpack how disruptions, how unpredictability, even, outright chaos can push us out of those comfortable ruts.
And into unexpected breakthroughs.
Yes. And not just, huge world-changing things, but in your everyday life, too. So let's start with a really legendary moment in music. Keith Jarrett's Köln concert, 1975. Can you kind of set the scene? Because it wasn't exactly ideal circumstances.
Ideal? No, far from it. Imagine this. Jarrett shows up for this big concert, highly anticipated, and the piano waiting for him. It's a disaster. A tiny Bosendorfer, completely out of tune.
Oh, wow.
And worse, some of the black keys in the middle just didn't work. The pedals were sticking. He literally called it unplayable. And his first thought, understandably, was, I'm not playing this. He wanted to walk away.
Which, most of us would, right? If the tools aren't right, if the conditions aren't perfect, we hesitate. But he didn't walk away.
No, he didn't. And this is where it gets amazing. He didn't just play despite the problems. He sort of leaned into them. He embraced the piano's limits. He had to physically pummel the keys just to get enough sound out.
Really hammering it?
Yeah, standing up, sitting down, kind of writhing around. It became this incredibly physical, totally improvised, and messy performance. But the outcome?
The album was huge.
Huge. Sold 3.5 million copies. It was a unique sound born directly out of those limitations. He played music he literally could not have conceived of on a perfect piano.
That's incredible. It really makes you think about our own, tidiness temptation. How often do we wait for the perfect moment, the perfect tool, before we start anything?
Exactly. That messy improvisation forced on him by this unplayable situation, it created something magical, something far more original than a perfect plan might have. So this is kind of our first puzzle piece. Sometimes limitations aren't roadblocks, they're actually catalysts. They force creativity you didn't know you had.
Okay, so from that kind of spontaneous, forced brilliance, let's switch to another music icon, David Bowie. Late 70s Berlin. He's kind of stuck, creatively speaking, looking for something new.
Right. And then Brian Eno comes along with this weird deck of cards. Oblique strategies, they were called.
Oblique strategies, what were they?
Just these little cards, each with a cryptic instruction. Things like honor thy error as a hidden intention, or remove specifics and convert to ambiguities. Just strange prompts.
So what did they do with them?
Well, when Bowie and the band got stuck in the studio, Eno would just pull a card at random and read out the instruction. Imagine trying to make music based on use an unacceptable color.
That sounds chaotic.
It was. In fact, the working title for Bowie's album Lodger was literally Planned Accidents.
Planned accidents. I love that. And yet, the music that came out of that period, astounding.
Absolutely. Low Heroes, two of Bowie's most acclaimed albums. Plus, he produced Iggy Pop's The Idiot and Lust for Life around the same time. Just this incredible burst of creativity.
So why did this work, this intentional chaos?
Eno had this really sharp insight. He said, the enemy of creative work is boredom, and the friend is alertness. Being forced into a situation you can't fully control, it wakes you up. It makes you hyper alert.
Oh, okay.
These cards, they forced a random leap. They pushed the musicians into places, as Eno put it, that you really had not thought of going before. So our second piece here is about alertness. True creative alertness doesn't come from comfort. It comes from shaking things up, deliberately injecting the unexpected.
Okay, so we've got artists thriving on mess, whether it's accidental like Jarrett's piano or deliberate like Eno's cards. Is this just, an artsy thing? Or is there something deeper here? Let's shift gears completely. Think about complex mathematical problems like designing a computer chip.
Yeah, laying out circuits on silicon. The number of possible ways to connect everything, it's astronomical. Trillions upon trillions.
So you can't just check every option.
Impossible, even for supercomputers. And the simple approach, just making small improvements step by step, what they call hill climbing, that doesn't always work either.
Why not?
Because you get stuck on local optima. Good solution, sure, but not the best possible solution overall. You've climbed a hill, but maybe not the highest mountain.
Right, so what's the alternative?
Well, algorithms like simulated annealing do something interesting. They basically do what Brian Eno did. They add a dose of randomness, especially at the beginning.
How does that work?
They start out messy, willing to accept changes that might even make the solution slightly worse temporarily. They explore more widely. Then, gradually, they become fussier, more likely to only accept improvements as they zero in on a really good solution.
And that connects back to us, doesn't it? We humans, we're kind of instinctive hill climbers. We want every step to be an improvement.
Exactly. We hate the idea of taking a step backward, even if it's to find a path up a much bigger mountain later. That reluctance can keep us stuck.
So this mix, gradual improvement plus these random shocks or jumps, it's actually a really powerful strategy.
Turns out, yes. It's used for all sorts of tough problems, figuring out the best shape for new drug molecules, optimizing delivery routes for, Amazon packages. It's mathematically validated. So, piece number 3. A bit of calculated chaos isn't just for artists. It's a smart way to find genuinely better solutions to complex problems.
Okay, let's bring this right down to earth. Your daily commute probably seems like the most routine, maybe optimized part of the day for many people.
You'd think so.
But remember back in 2014, there's that big London Underground strike. 2 days, something like 171 stations closed. Chaos for commuters, right?
Oh, absolutely. Huge disruption, people scrambling, trying to figure out completely new ways to get to work.
But what happened after the strike ended? That's the interesting part.
It is. The data showed something surprising. About 1 in 20 people who were forced to find a new route during the strike, they actually stuck with the new route afterwards.
1 in 20, why?
They discovered purely by accident that the new way was faster or cheaper or just, more pleasant than the route they'd been taking, maybe for years.
Wow, so we just assume our routines are the best they can be.
Pretty much. We optimize once, maybe, and then we stop looking. This big disruption, this unexpected shock, it forced an experiment they never would have chosen to do, and many found actual improvements.
That's fascinating. It shows how easily we get locked into habits, even suboptimal ones.
Right. So, our next piece. Routines feel safe and efficient, but sometimes it takes a jolt, a bit of enforced messiness, to make us realize there might be a better way hiding in plain sight.
Okay, now let's think about the physical spaces we work in. There's a strong push in many companies for super tidy, controlled environments. Think Kyocera, known for its pristine factories. Or architects like Le Corbusier, all about order. Even Steve Jobs' initial vision for Pixar was very planned, very controlled.
Yeah, the belief is strong. Neatness equals productivity. Tidy desk, tidy mind, that kind of thing.
But does the research back that up?
Not necessarily. There was a study at the University of Exeter looking at office layouts. They compared a lean office, totally bare, tidy, minimalist, with other setups. People found the lean office oppressive.
Oppressive? Really?
Yeah. The most successful setup, the one where people felt most productive and happy, was the empowered office. That was where people were given decorations and plants and told, arrange it how you like.
So it wasn't about tidiness itself, but about autonomy.
Exactly. It's about people having some say over their own space. Which brings us to MIT's Building 20.
Oh, right, the legendary Building 20. Tell us about that. It wasn't exactly a gleaming temple of design, was it?
No. It was famously ugly. A temporary plywood structure thrown up quickly during World War II, designed in an afternoon. It was confusing, maze-like. People got lost all the time. Totally inefficient by modern standards. But its messiness was its superpower. Because it was confusing, people bumped into each other in the long corridors, chance encounters between folks from totally different fields.
What kind of mix are we talking?
Oh, everything. Nuclear science, linguistics.
Yep.
Noam Chomsky was there. Acoustics, Model Railroad Club, electronics R&D, ROTC. Just this wild jumble.
Okay.
And crucially, because it was seen as temporary and unimportant, even junior people had huge freedom to modify their space, knock down walls, rewire things, make them work for them. Autonomy again.
I see the parallel. It reminds me a bit of Google's early days, too. Before the Googleplex, they were scattered. Engineers had a lot of freedom. The current campus looks like a theme park, but it started much messier.
Right. The lesson from Building 20, and this is our 5th puzzle piece, isn't about aesthetics. It's that truly creative and productive spaces often foster serendipity, those chance encounters, and critically, They grant people autonomy. Control over their environment lets people and ideas flourish. The look is secondary.
Okay, let's go even deeper. Let's talk about mess in natural systems. Think about forestry. German scientific forestry historically. They looked at messy, ancient forests and thought, we can improve this.
Yeah, make it tidier, more efficient for timber production. So they cleared the diverse, messy old growth and planted neat, pure stands of fast-growing trees like Norway spruce. Orderly rows.
Sounds logical from a purely economic view, but what happened?
Disaster in the long run. It led to something called Waldsterben, forest death. These tidy monocultures, lacking the natural diversity of a real forest, became incredibly vulnerable.
Vulnerable to what?
Disease, pests, climate shifts. The complex web of interactions in a messy forest provides resilience. The tidy forest was brittle. They actually had to start reintroducing mess and dead logs, different tree species, undergrowth, to make the forest healthy again.
That's a powerful lesson, and it makes you think about our own bodies, right? Our microbiome. We spend so much effort trying to be clean, using antibacterial soaps, antibiotics, basically tidying up our own internal ecosystems.
We do. And again, that tidiness can have serious downsides. We're learning that some bacteria we try to eliminate, like H. pylori, might actually protect us from things like asthma or obesity.
Really?
Yeah. And others, like Lactobacillus acai, seem to help prevent sinus infections. Wiping out all this clutter can paradoxically make us more vulnerable to harmful infections like C. diff because the natural balance is gone.
So it's not about being sterile, it's about a complex, maybe messy balance.
Precisely. And you see the same pattern in cities. Jane Jacobs argued against overly specialized, tidy urban planning. She championed diverse, seemingly inefficient, hodgepodge mixtures of old buildings and new, different industries cheek by jowl.
Like Birmingham in the UK, the city of 1,000 trades.
Exactly. Compared to a one-industry town like Detroit, which was incredibly vulnerable when that one industry declined, Jacobs saw that diversity, even if it looked messy, created resilience.
So piece number 6 is pretty profound. Whether it's a forest, your gut, or city, resilience doesn't come from sterile order. It comes from diversity, complexity, from the mess that allows adaptation.
That's it. A seemingly inefficient mix is often more robust in the long run.
Okay, let's shift to how we collaborate, how humans work together. There's an interesting contrast here. Think about the British Olympic rowing team, the 8-man crew that won gold. Their strategy was described as strategic isolationism.
Right, they deliberately cut themselves off, focused inward, built intense cohesion within the team. That's called bonding social capital. Very tight, very tidy within the group boundary.
Now contrast that with someone like the mathematician Paul Erdős.
Erdős, a completely different model. He was famously nomadic, constantly traveling, visiting mathematicians all over the world. He didn't have a fixed team. He built connections between different groups.
Bringing ideas from one place to another.
Exactly. He fostered bridging social capital. His connections were often weak ties. He didn't know everyone deeply, but they were incredibly powerful for spreading information and sparking new collaborations across different fields of math. He became the most prolific collaborator ever.
You can see how too much bonding, too much tidiness within a group could be limiting, like in that old Robbers Cave experiment with the Boy Scouts.
Oh yeah, classic study. They got boys into 2 separate groups, let them bond tightly, and then introduce competition. The result? Intense hostility and tribalism between the groups almost immediately. Strong internal bonds seem to fuel external conflict.
And we see echoes of that today, right? Studies show that when people only discuss difficult topics with others who already agree with them,
their views become more extreme, less nuanced. It's groupthink. Even things like investment clubs. Studies found friends in a club might make worse financial decisions because they prioritize harmony over challenging each other's ideas. They avoid the messiness of disagreement.
So it's a real challenge. Most things we do probably need a mix of that internal cohesion, the bonding, and the external connections, the bridging.
Right. But we seem to have this bias, this temptation to overvalue the tidy cohesion, the bonding part. We often don't enjoy the disruption that diverse views or bridging ties bring, even though that's often where the better outcomes lie.
Yeah, the friction isn't comfortable at the time, but it's valuable.
That's our 7th piece. Our instinct pushes us towards tidy, cohesive groups, but innovation and robust thinking often depend on the messier, sometimes uncomfortable process of bridging different worlds and perspectives.
Okay, let's consider technology and automation. These systems are designed to be tidy, efficient, predictable. But what happens when they interact with the messy, real world? There's that chilling story of Air France Flight 447.
A truly tragic example. Highly skilled pilots flying a sophisticated Airbus A330. But the plane stalled and they couldn't recover.
Why? What went wrong?
They'd become so reliant on the fly-by-wire system, the computer automation, that they fundamentally misunderstood what was happening. The system was designed to prevent stalls in normal operation, but when certain sensors failed, that protection was gone.
And they didn't realize.
They seemed unable to process it. The plane sent out stall warnings, stall, 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 something like 75 times. But their instincts, trained on the assumption the computer would prevent a stall, led them to keep pulling the nose up, making the stall worse. It was called mode confusion. They trusted the tidy system over the messy reality.
That's terrifying. And you see less dramatic versions of this with everyday tech like GPS navigation.
Absolutely. GPS is great for avoiding minor hassles, finding a shortcut. But when it fails or gives bad directions, it can lead to major problems because we've switched off our own sense of direction or situational awareness. We've lost the tacit knowledge.
We stop paying attention to the actual road signs or the landscape.
Right. And this applies more broadly. Think about automated systems for parking fines, or even Google Street View trying to read house numbers. They work fine for the standard cases, the routine stuff.
But the edge cases.
The edge cases create nightmares. Kafka-esque battles, you called it. When the messy reality, a weirdly numbered house, a confusing parking sign doesn't fit the tidy algorithm, the system breaks down, often in frustrating or unfair ways.
So the underlying problem is?
We fail to see how imperfectly a tidy database or algorithm maps onto a messy, complex world. Over-reliance erodes our own skills, our judgment, our adaptability. Like the best meteorologists, they use the computer models as a tool, a second opinion, but they rely on their own expertise first. They don't let the machine take over completely.
So, piece number 8. Overly tidy automated systems can make us less capable, less resilient, precisely when we encounter the real-world mess they weren't designed for. They erode our skills.
It's a hidden cost of convenience.
Okay, for our final piece, let's look at deliberately introducing mess, or maybe ambiguity, to actually make us more alert, more human. There was a Dutch traffic engineer, Hans Monderman.
Ah, Monderman.
Yeah.
Yes, fascinating work. He had this radical idea for village roads and junctions.
What did he do?
He took away the controls, removed traffic lights, road signs, clear lane markings. He created shared spaces like the square about in Drachten, where cars, bikes, and pedestrians basically had to figure it out themselves.
That sounds terrifying, like guaranteed gridlock and accidents.
That's what you'd think. But the results were the opposite. Drivers actually slowed down. They started making eye contact with cyclists, with pedestrians. They had to negotiate the space together. Because the ambiguity, the lack of clear rules, forced them to pay attention.
Yeah.
They couldn't just rely on signs and slip into automatic driving mode. The perceived chaos made the environment safer because it demanded human awareness and interaction.
Wow. The mess forced alertness, just like Eno's cards.
Exactly. And you see a similar principle maybe in children's play. Contrast the standard, safe, tidy playground, the kit, the fence, the rubber carpet.
The KFC playground, yeah.
Right. Contrast that with adventure playgrounds like the land in Wales. These places are basically full of junk, old tires, wood scraps, tools, ropes. Kids build dens, light fires, use hammers and saws.
Sounds incredibly risky to modern parents.
It does sound risky. But studies haven't shown these playgrounds to be significantly more dangerous in terms of serious injuries. What they do foster is incredible learning.
Learning what?
How to assess risk for themselves. How to cooperate, compromise, negotiate with other kids. Because there are no fixed rules, no adult referees stepping in constantly. They learn empathy and social skills by navigating the messy, unstructured environment together.
So, by trying to make everything perfectly safe and tidy for kids, we might actually be preventing them from developing crucial life skills.
That's the argument. Over-sanitizing their world, like over-tidying our own lives, might limit their scope to become fully human, to learn how to handle the inherent messiness of life and social interaction. This final piece suggests that sometimes removing the tidy structures forces us or allows us to engage more deeply, more alertly with the world and each other.
So, putting all these pieces together now, it's quite a picture. We started with Keith Jarrett and that broken piano, went through algorithms, messy offices, forest ecosystems, right up to playgrounds filled with junk.
And layer by layer, the pattern seems clear, doesn't it? This recurring theme about the unexpected, often counterintuitive benefits of embracing disorder, imperfection, even a bit of chaos.
It seems like true creativity, real resilience, maybe even effective human connection. They don't always thrive in the perfectly streamlined, the super tidy system.
No, they often emerge from the friction, the need to improvise, the surprising connections that happen because things aren't perfectly ordered. It really is about being alert, like Hino said, not just comfortable.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over. Where in your own life, maybe in your work, your relationships, your routines, is there a tidy instinct that might actually be holding you back?
What comfortable pattern might be preventing you from discovering something more effective, more creative, or maybe just more fulfilling?
And could you maybe purposefully introduce just a little bit more mess into your world and see what happens?